stuff. Well, it's over here. Okay, so we just did a big switcheroo a little bit. And shalom, shalom. Welcome to God's Little Hummingbird. You can find it on the YouTube channel, the podcast, Facebook, Melissa Schilling Smith, Instagram, God's Little Hummingbird. And we decided, because of the events going on with Trump in the middle and the Middle East right now, and the Board of Peace that he's put together with the 10 executive, well, there's 8 prime executive members with 2 sub-executive members, and then beyond that there's other people who can pay to play, and so they buy in at $1 billion each if they want to be a constant membership. I mean, only $1 billion. You guys got it in your pocket? Okay, let's do it. But I think this is the whole book of Daniel. If we can get through this, I think we should push, and I think we should try to look at what's happening. I think this is pivotal to understanding what's going on right now. And some of you peeps are sitting there like, wow, it's getting biblical. No need for TVs, no need for movies. Remember when we threw that crap away? This life is more exciting. So let's go ahead and talk about Daniel in light of the Board of Peace, what Trump's doing right now, Tony Blair, and all the good juicy stuff. Now I'm going to actually we have another show coming out. I can't announce it fully yet. We have another show coming out with me and 3 other prophecy people soon, and I think it'll get really juicy. So I'll announce it as soon as I know the exact date. But we all see things getting pretty biblical. We're strapping up and suiting up and holding on for it's going to be pretty rough years. But we know our king's going to come and whoop butt in the end, right? Yeshua HaMashiach. So hold on to him. Okay, so let's go ahead and pray. And I'm just so excited because I've been waiting, because we just started my 25th year of this Torah walk in the full Torah walk just now. But the 25th year started in November of my awakening process. So what is that? 25 years or 25, I'm in the third year of the 25th year. So whatever that means. I'm just so excited. I've been waiting for this. I feel like I've been waiting a lifetime for this. So, oh, Father, we come before your throne and we thank you. We bless you. We adore you, Almighty King. You are holy. You are righteous. You are pure. You are perfect. You are altogether lovely and good. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your understanding and your truth and your gentleness, your forgiveness, your mercy, and your love. We thank you that we have nothing. We are nothing without you, Almighty King. We thank you for your salvation, Yeshua. We thank you, Yeshua, for giving yourself for us. We praise you, all glory to you, and we are simply your humble servants. We ask, Father, that you would grant us humility and righteousness, that we may be hidden in the day of wrath. We ask, Father, that you would give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and hearts to comprehend, that you would anoint this teaching, that you would anoint this lesson, that you would come and teach us your truth like never before. We adore you. We honor you. We ask for healing to those who need the healing. We ask for faith to those who need faith. We ask for endurance to those who need endurance. We ask for courage to those who need courage. We ask for deliverance to those who need deliverance, provision to those who need provision. And may all of us have circumcised hearts that we would glorify your name with all we do. We love you. We bless you. We adore you. Please come and teach us in the mighty name of Yeshua. Amen. Okay. This is going to be good, I think. Oh my goodness. Sorry. My little nose is a little like itchy there because I don't know why. Okay, so we're going to read. I'm just going to do the whole book of Daniel, okay? We're just going to do the whole book of Daniel. And I like to do this particular Bible. So I hope I don't push the wrong button. Okay, what I'm going to do is if you see somebody not here tonight, make sure you reach out to them because I think people will want to hear this one tonight. If not, well, I guess then that's on them. So I'm going to turn off the chat. I'm going to turn off the unmute themselves. That way we have a little bit more order. Okay. Daniel again. And so I think it's important to kind of set the stage of Daniel because Daniel, he was carried away during the Babylonian exile. He was in exile when he got these prophetic words. This is important to remember because our brother Daniel understood the mercies and graces of God without temple sacrifices. See, the temple sacrifices that are coming back are not to save us, but to teach us of what our Messiah did and does. See, this is a big point to me. People always like, oh, before the cross, they had to have sacrifices. No, they didn't. Daniel was a man beloved of God, and they didn't have the temple. The temple is the beautiful picture of the sacrificial system, of the offering system, of the worship system of our God, but it is not what saves us. All of the offerings, everything that was done, leads us to the understanding of who Yeshua is and what he did for us. So do not get this wrong. There has always only been salvation through faith in Messiah, Yeshua, the salvation of Yah. One way, one way, because they understood that Yeshua was that Yah himself would provide salvation. They understood the ram in the thicket. They understood that he was up to something big to save them. Look at David's letters. Look at David's Psalms, I should say, not his letters. David constantly brags about the salvation of his Yah. He knew Yeshua was coming. And I think this is a pivotal book to help establish that concept there, that truth. Okay, now, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. Again, there's two houses of Israel. The 10 northern tribes at this point had already been scattered by Tiglath-Pileser in approximately 730 BC. At this point, who was remaining in the land when Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Zechariah chapter 12 says, before the returning of Messiah, the tents of Judah will be saved first. If we look at the promised land of Israel right now, who's in the land? Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And the Gentiles are about to embark on the second Exodus with, of course, some of us Jews as well. The diaspora contains all tribes. Remember James's letter to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. So at any point of dispersion, there was always an intermixing. But the primary group to the Americas at first was the Ephraimites, the fullness of the Gentiles. So Genesis 48:19 said they would become the Melech HaGoyim, the fullness of the Gentiles. And that's what was going at this point in time. And Yahweh gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, thus the Jews, into his hand with some of the articles of the house of Elohim, which he carried into the land of Shinar, that's the land of Babylon, to the house of his Elohim. And he brought the articles into the treasure house of his God. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of these eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel. Now, all Jews are Israel, not all Israelites are Jews. Okay, so Judah, some of the children of Judah were scattered over here, right? And then they're here called Israel. So don't get confused. These do not include the 10 northern tribes. Just want to make sure you knew that, okay? So some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles. Verse 4, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. When you see the word Chaldea, it always represents and refers to Babylon. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them. Again, we talk about this pivotal point of 3 years. Messiah's Mashiach himself, it looks like, was teaching approximately 3 years. Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 nights and 3 days. Yeshua was in the grave. There's always this 3, right? Father, Son, Spirit, the completion of the understanding and the, I think, of a sanctification process. When you fast for 3 days, at the end of 3 days, your flesh shifts. You have a shift in your metabolism. You have a breakthrough, and you start to heal. And so again, here they understood this, obviously in some capacity, because they had them training for 3 years. Okay, so I'm sorry, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of that time they might serve before the king. Now, from among those of the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them, the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah, Shadrach, to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacy, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now, this is referring to the fact of Daniel abstaining from meat, because many of the meat in this kingdom was going to be offered to pagan gods. And Daniel said, I'm not going to eat food sacrificed to idols. Thus, we cue Romans 14. Many of the new believers who had been former Gentiles chose not to eat meat in Romans 14, thus so they wouldn't defile themselves with the idols of the nations. Meat is that which is classified in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. Meat does not include humans. Meat does not include horses. Meat does not include dogs. Meat does not include pig. So in Romans 14, we don't see a rebranding of what, or reclassification of what is meat. We see that them establish this principle that Daniel was doing, which was very common among the Jews. Hey, I don't want to eat meat sacrificed to idols. Therefore, to not pollute myself, I'm going to abstain from meat in an attempt to protect myself. And many of us are vegetarians, some people, for that reason. They're like, dude, I can only get my meat at the market. What if they pump it full of growth hormones? What if it was contaminated with pork? What if it was this? What if it was that? What if it was fed GMOs? Okay. What if it was halal? Whatever. Some of you brought that up. Okay. Verse 9. Now Elohim had brought Daniel into the favor and goodwill of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and drink. Well, I just skipped that. I'm sorry. Let's go back to verse 8. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. I forgot to clarify. So he's saying, please don't bring me meat. I'm not going to eat the meat or the wine. Now Elohim had brought Daniel into the favor and goodwill of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your faces looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you would endanger my head before the king. So he says, look, what if you aren't eating meat and wine and you start getting like gaunt and skinny, and my king then is mad at me? So Daniel said to the steward from whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. 10. That number 10 has so many meanings in the Hebrew understanding. There are, on the 10th plague of Egypt, when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, Israel was delivered. Egypt was judged. It's the plague of the 10th child. When you see Jeremiah and elsewhere, it says on the 10th day of the 10th month, that's when the King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieged Jerusalem. So it can be double judgment, but it can also be deliverance. There's so many numbers 10s. If I keep going, but like 10 tribes of Israel, all that, like there's 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 has so many meanings. Okay. Verse 13. So after 10 days, then let our appearance be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who eat the portion of the king's delicacies, and as you see fit, so deal with your servants. So he consented with them in this matter and tested them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. Many women would be very upset if at the end of 10 days we looked fatter than everyone else. This just simply means they looked robust, they looked healthy, they were glowing, it wasn't that they were chubby tubby marshmallows, okay? So they were just healthy. Verse 16, then the steward took away their portion of delicacies and the wine that they were to drink and gave them vegetables. So he's like, fine, you're going to be a vegetarian. You can have the grains and the vegetables and arachot. You're going to have all the things, but no meat and no wine. As for these four young men, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Please don't. Some people try to misquote the verse where it talks about Yeshua shows the fishers of men the lowly of the earth. That doesn't mean they were stupid. That doesn't mean they were nunchucks. Like when you are in the favor of Yah, look at Joseph. Look at Paul. Paul was brilliant. Paul was trained by Gamaliel, and Paul was an extremely brilliant man, too brilliant for most people to comprehend. Paul always upheld the Torah, talked against Judaism, and many people get that confused. Paul was brilliant. He wasn't dumb. And right here, we see the favor of Yah upon them. So if you feel you lack wisdom, what does the Bible say? Ask, and he will give you. Because the Father doesn't want us running around in a spirit of stupor. Are we the earthly people, like the Greeks, like the liberals, like all these types? That not that worldly type of wisdom, but wisdom in Yah's ways. You should definitely ask for and be able to speak articulately and well and present the truth of Yah in an effective manner. Okay. So Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Okay. Doesn't mean that every single dream he understood. Please note that. Verse 18. Now at the end of the days, when the king had said that they would be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Then the king interviewed them, and among them all, none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they served before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding, about which the king examined them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers who were in all his realm. Then Daniel continued until the first year of King Cyrus. Is it any coincidence that at this point in history, Daniel is given the prophecy for the end times coming out of the second Exodus, and what we just have been reading in our Torah portions are about the magicians and astrologers being put to shame by Moses? I don't find this any coincidence. I think that Father probably paralleled this. Yah will raise up people of wisdom to counter the demonic lies of the enemy before deliverance happens. Isn't that interesting? So there's this huge influx of knowledge, we're told, that's coming, or that is here, obviously, the bite of the apple. And we see wisdom that is foolish wisdom of the world, right? Things that are not true, but they act like they're all wise and know it all. Wisdom, knowledge is increasing like crazy. But at the same point, there's a wisdom in scripture and wisdom in literature, a wisdom in the ways of Yah that is countering all the ways of the world, and they're divisive. If you understand the wisdom of Yah, it looks nothing at some point like the wisdom of the world, correct? Similarly, because our faith looks like foolishness to the Greeks, to that Greek-minded person. Similarly, you see that Moses, he had miracles similar to that of, the Pharaoh's magicians would copy them for a time, and then all of a sudden there was this divergence. And you saw Yah's ways outperform all of Pharaoh's magicians' ways, all of the wicked enemies' ways. There was a split. So this is why right now we're at a pivotal point in history where, again, the children of Yah are going this way, but we see the enemy going this way. This is the danger in the Torah movement right now. Some people got stuck on the boat and they're going the wrong way. We're trying to pull them back. The woman is kind of stuck between the two. She's stuck between the wisdom of Yah, and then she's going into this head knowledge areas that are foolishness. So she's getting stuck in a spirit of stupor at times. And we see that. I see it heavily in this Torah movement. We need to come out of that and just completely submit to the ways of Yah and go in his chacham. That's the word for wisdom. Chacham. You want to know how to say that? Chacham. Okay. Any questions about chapter 1? Okay. Chapter 2. Now, in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you will receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore, tell me the dream and its interpretation. They answered again and said, wow, like, okay, let the king tell his servants the dream and we will give his interpretation. Like, we weren't in your head. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. So this dream really troubled him. He wanted to make sure he got the actual interpretation. Like, he's like, I need to know what this means. Therefore, tell me the dream, and I shall tell you, and then I shall know that you can give its interpretation. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. Therefore, no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other one who, I'm reading the very small print Bible right now because I don't want to have my iPad and it's dark in here. So give me grace. I'm so sorry. And there's no other who can tell it to the kings except the gods whose dwelling is not with flesh. I want to point out that word gods is typically equated with, I don't even have my iPad open here. Usually it's the word Elohim. Let me see. Let me double check if that's the word Elohim here. Because if it is, the word Elohim refers to mighty ones, and it can be both the actual God of heaven or false gods. Let me double check here because I happen to have this Bible that has a cross reference. Thank you, Nellie, for this many months ago. It was so wonderful. Yep, this is Elah. So this is the word for, it's the same word we would call Elohim, God. So our God is a mighty one. Our God is the true God, but these gods are the wicked ones, like the false gods, okay? I just want to point that out. People do get confused about that. So, verse 12. For this reason the king was angry and very furious and gave the command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then with counsel and wisdom Daniel answered Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree from the king so urgent? Then Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. So Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time that he might tell the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might seek mercies from the Elohim of heaven concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Do you think there's a point coming in this historical end time, the last 7 years, where perhaps those of wisdom will be influencing world leaders for times of protection? Is there some capacity where I've wondered that. I wonder if this is a foreshadowing of anything coming. I know we're going to be worn out. It says the saints will be persecuted. But are there also certain times of provision that wisdom might come and play? I don't know. It's something to keep in mind. It's something I've thought about. There's no exact answer per se to that. But I have wondered if there are going to be pivotal people specifically for the woman in the wilderness, with those of wisdom, have a certain level of help. Just wondering. I don't know. Verse 19. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Elohim forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, and he changes the times and seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. So when it says he's changing the seasons here, it doesn't mean he changes his law. It means he decides when it's winter, when it's summer, the spring or the fall. He decides those things. All wisdom is his. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O Elohim of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's demand. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus to him, do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Take me before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretation. Then Arioch quickly brought Daniel before the king and said thus to him, I have found a man of the captains of Judah who will make known to the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot declare to the king. Again, I think of this like Moses before Pharaoh. No, none of those magicians after the third plague, could copy any of Moses' miracles. They can't do that which our Elohim can do. Verse 28, But there is an Elohim in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days, the end days. Remember in Jacob, when he brought his sons to him in Genesis 48 and 49, he says, This is what will befall you in the latter days. Here's another prophecy of what will befall us in the end days. As for you, O king, thoughts came to your head while on your bed about what would come to pass after this, and he who reveals secrets has made known to you what will be. But as for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who made known the interpretation to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your head. You, O king, were watching, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose splendor was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. The image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched while the stone was cut out without hands, which struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. The wind carried them away so that no trace of them was found, and the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. Now we will tell the interpretation of it before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings, for the Elohim of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field and the birds of the heaven, he has given them into your hand and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. That is Babylon. That's the Babylonian Empire. Now, Babylon is important to understand as the word for Babylon is based on the word for Babel, means confusion. The Babylonians infused this whole Mesopotamia region with sun worship. The day that the Babylonians worshipped their god was on the first day of the week, the day of the sun god. The Babylonians had festivities with lights and around the winter solstice that were known as Saturnalia. The Babylonians worshipped gods such as Isis, Semiramis, Ishtar. So we have Babylon built on, or this region, this nation of Babylon being the head of gold, the epitome of the rise of all. And we have to remember part of the start of Babylon was in fact Nimrod when he gathered men into cities back in Genesis. Right? We had Nimrod gather the men into cities. They were all speaking one language. They were a one world order, and they were building a ziggurat, the Tower of Babel, that was attempting to reach the heavens, to reach the gods, to make a name for themselves. That is a representation of man-made religion, what the Catholic religion is based upon, the end-time one-world religion that the entire world is based upon. The word Catholic means universal. It is an ecumenical conglomeration of many faiths. It is not a righteous, holy, set-apart faith of God, of the one true God. This is important to understand. That is the height of all civilization in this capacity, okay? Nebuchadnezzar was it. He was the crown of the crown, the king of the whole thing from Nimrod to Babylon. We got Nebuchadnezzar, the greatest of all. Verse 39. But after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to yours, So then we have the Media-Persian Empire, and then a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. That's Greece. So we have Babylon, Media-Persia, this Grecian Empire. And the fourth kingdom is Rome. And we have never had an end to the kingdom of Rome. Rome has not died. Rome has just changed. Rome has hidden itself, but Rome rules the world. So, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch iron breaks in pieces and shatters everything. And like iron that crushes, that kingdom shall break in pieces and crush all others. At the time of Messiah, Rome is the empire, the nation that destroyed the temple. And so that was like 40 years after Yeshua died and rose from the dead. The Roman Empire was vast. Rome is all the way back in Italy. The shape of Italy is a hooker's boot. The Vatican's right there by it. So when we look at Revelation 17 and the harlot it's Rome. Rome. And that Roman Empire that was the fourth in this series of kingdoms adopted and absorbed all of these pagan religious traditions based on sun worship that began with Babylon, with Babel, the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Confusion with Nimrod. Does that make sense? Is everybody tracking me? Okay, Cass has to tell me if I stop being trackable, okay? Verse 41, whereas you saw the feet, okay, so you have the legs were of iron, but now we have the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron. The kingdom shall be divided. The kingdom, this Roman kingdom that is pervading, will be divided. And it will be partly of iron and partly of clay. Jeremiah tells us what? We are the clay. He is the potter. Okay? The children of Israel, the 10 northern tribes, were scattered very much, predominantly by and through this Roman Catholic Protestant beast system. Okay? So 10 right here, these 10 toes represent how the Roman Empire has always had kind of like these 10 divisions, I believe, firmly based on the representation of the 10 tribes of Israel who were scattered to the Western European America nations. Okay? Pivot and come forward a couple thousand years to today. What's happening tomorrow? A board of peace will be announced with 10 members from America and one from Britain. Now, other members can join, but the executive membership is comprised of 8 primary members and 2 sub-members to make up the executive team. And you can pay to play. You got $1 billion, you're a world leader, you can join the club. Now, you don't have to pay $1 billion, but if you don't pay $1 billion, then I think your term ends after 3 years, by my understanding of this deal. So I want to paint a picture for you. 2,000 years ago, we had the 10 tribes still scattered. They had gone through the barbaric nations, through what we now know as Europe. They had been dispersed and displaced. They went into the European world, not yet to America at that point. And the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the Jews, were who was with Yeshua when he came. Then they started going to the 10 tribes scattered abroad. They began the first fruits of the redemption of the scattered tribes of Israel at the Feast of Pentecost, what we call Shavuot. That's the Feast of First Fruits of the wheat harvest. They had an outpouring of the Holy Spirit that spoke the gospel in their nation. James says his letter is addressed to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, We know primarily he's talking to the 10 tribes of Israel, though. We know that Peter addresses his letter to those of the dispersion. And as Paul takes his journey, he goes through the European world to Rome, right? So little Paul, is trying to bring back the children of God and call them out of that Roman sun worship system even back then. He was always telling them to leave their Gentile ways. You're no longer Gentiles. Come back. So that was the first fruits of Ephraim returning, of the division of the clay and the iron. But not very many came at that point, and it wasn't the fullness of the Gentiles yet. Yes, yes, it is being recorded. So it wasn't yet the time of the fullness of the Gentiles. Because there's a prophesied period of blindness to happen to the Israelites until the fullness of the Gentiles was reached. Now, if you look at agriculture, we have a big picture of this. The festival of Shavuot, you would have the first fruits of the wheat harvest, the wheat representing the children of Yah, wheat versus tares. That's when Yeshua was here. That's why the olive branch was extended to the dispersed of Israel. Yeshua said, I came not except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. His prophecy in Isaiah 49 was he would bring back the tribes of Israel. Isaiah 42 says he come and teach even the Gentiles, the coastlands, his law. Many Jews in Judaism rejected him as Messiah because they didn't see him bring in all the Israelites. They're like, well, that's one of the prophecies Messiah has to do. Well, Buttercup, hold on. That was just the beginning. That was just the first fruits. That was just the very first beginning. And then we continue to see this Roman Empire spread all through Europe and into the Americas, so that the Zerah, the seed, the sperm of Abraham, went to all nations. Because we saw this Roman Empire spread. Now, I think it's at 8 a.m. Is it in Switzerland or Sweden? I cannot remember. Trump is over in Europe right now talking about taking over Greenland. We got some biblical things happening. So Trump's going to take over Greenland to protect America from, and he says, he says American interests from Putin, from Russia and China, Gog and Magog in biblical terms. So he wants to make a buffer of protection using Greenland. The UN, the EU, the European nations are like not okay with this. They're not happy. Trump's like, well, then we're going to impose more tariffs. Oh, well, we're going to get to Daniel chapter 11 and talk about all these tariffs or taxes that this Antichrist man puts upon the world. Interesting, isn't it? And isn't it interesting that right here, let's listen to this. Verse 41, again, whereas you saw the feet and toes partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, so partly the children of God, partly a Roman, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it. So that Roman Empire is going to be permeated by those 10 northern tribes of Israel, scattered on Rachel's children, and it's going to have that strength of Rome in it. But there's going to be a division. Keep listening. Just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so that the kingdom shall be, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. They will mingle with the sperm of men. Who's they? The Roman Empire. Some people think it's all the fallen angels. I don't know. I'm just saying it's non-believers. Whether fallen angel DNA is in them, because some of the fallen angels did breed with women. Is it all fallen angels? I don't know. There's a lot of just stupid nunchucks that reject God. Like, you know what I mean? So it's them tried to mix with Abraham's seed, our Zerah. But they will not adhere to one another, just as the iron does not mix with the clay. And what has been happening for the last 30 years? Elohim has been separating the children of Israel from the Roman Catholic Protestant Empire. Over the last 30 years, we have been seeing and witnessing the immersion, the extraction, I should say, of the 10 tribes of Israel and Jews. More Jews than ever are accepting Jesus Yeshua. And over the last 30 years, the Ephraimites, the toes of clay, have stopped mingling with the perversion of the Roman Empire and have been coming out of that system and are returning to the Torah, like Malachi chapter 4 prophesies. Okay, let's keep going. Verse 44. So in the days of the separation of the clay from the seed, this is what from the iron, this is what happens. And in the days of these kings, the days of the 10 kings, these 10 world leaders under the Roman Empire, the end of the Roman Empire, the end of the Roman Empire culminates in a series of 10 global leaders from the scattered tribes of Israel based on the Roman European world. And the big star of all that is America, right? Europeans settled America. Let's keep going. So in the days of these kings, these 10 kings, partly iron, partly clay, partly Israelites, partly Romans, partly Christians, the Elohim of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Oh, this is the return of Yeshua. That means this is now, because Yeshua is about to come back and reign on earth. So the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. That matches Zechariah. That matches Ezekiel. That matches Isaiah. That matches Jeremiah. This is getting good. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Cue Battle of Armageddon. Battle of Armageddon, baby. Our Yeshua comes back and kicks butt. He sets up his kingdom on earth, and none other raise a hand against him, wag a tongue against him. He comes and teaches the Torah to all the world. Isaiah 2, Micah 4, Isaiah 66, Malachi, I always said Micah 4, Ezekiel 40 through 48. Our Messiah Yeshua comes and kicks absolute butt, sets up his kingdom. In verse 45, inasmuch as you saw that the stone, our Yeshua, was cut out of the mountain without hands, miraculously, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the Romans, the bronze. Okay, which one was the second one? Well, so then it's going upwards now. So the Romans, the bronze, the Greeks, the clay. It even breaks the children of Israel? Yep. The silver, Media Persia, and the gold, Babylon. The great Elohim has made known to the king what will come to pass after this. The dream is certain and its interpretation is sure. At the end of the ages, when our Messiah comes, there will be this League of 10 represented in the 10 toes. Notice something. In the Hebrew culture, we teach about the Akev generation, the Akev generation, the heel generation, the lowest generation, the ones that touch their feet on the earth, that are as base can be. That's the days Messiah comes, because we can get no lower. We are at that point in history where we have men claiming to be women, where we have people trying to prevent birth, where we have murders galore of abortions, where we have children who sass their parents, women out of order. We are the most base generation ever. We have praise, like, good job, people. We have ruined ourselves. We have become the lowest possible humans. We are the Akev. We are those toes. We are the dust of the earth. And from there, Messiah will cleanse us, purify us, raise us up to be his bride. We will overcome our flesh through the coming tribulation, and we will go through the fire to be with our God. So, he didn't call the wise of the earth in that respect. Huh? We're not the best. We're not the most purest. Elisheva, Elizabeth, and Zacharias, boy, they shame us. They were blameless in all their ways. They walked before the Lord blameless, it says in the book of Luke. But at the time humanity has reached its absolute basest and lowest, we are going to have this League of 10 from which comes out the children of Israel. Where do we see the biggest awakening of the children of Israel coming from? America? Canada? European nations, track it back, people. Look at where the Assyrians scattered us. It went right through Europe. We were put on the edge of the borders of the barbarians and the Visigoths. We were said, we will, the Assyrians said, we're not going to kill you, but you fight these guys. Here's your land. We give you this land, but you better fight them. We were a free army. And we forgot who we were. And Hosea 9:3 says we would return to Gentile nations and eat unclean things. We would be so base, we would be unclean things. We would be, listen, we would be so base, we would eat a ham sandwich. Is that freedom, honey? To be under the curses of God, to put yourself under the punishment of God? No, We are the Akeb, the lowest, the base generation. But now, the last will be first, and he is going to bring us back. Through the hardest time ever in life. Thus, Q, we're just about to get to the furnace. I think this is an exact prophecy of the end days for us. Man, this is good. Verse 40 something, 46. The print is so tiny. Like 40 something, catch up. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face, prostrate before Daniel. Prostrate. I saw that. He probably had some prostate problems too, because he was pretty uptight, and I'm sure God judged him there also. But let's go back. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face prostrate before Daniel and commanded that they should present an offering and incense to him. The king answered Daniel and said, truly your Elohim is the Elohim of Elohim, Adon Adonim, well, Lord of Kings. I said Adon Melechim, and a revealer of secrets, since you could reveal the secret. Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts, and he made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. Notice that Daniel never got to see this dream come true. The king Nebuchadnezzar, I can't speak tonight. I'm so tired. I had like 3 hours of sleep last night, and I would not let myself drink coffee tonight. King Nebuchadnezzar never got to see this come true, but it did. It is, and we are hit. We are this. We are this time. We are these 10 toes. We're separating from the iron, kiddos. That's been for 30 years now. Verse 49, also Daniel petitioned the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. Okay, we have a question, and then we'll continue on. Okay. Oh, we have 2 questions, I guess. Go ahead, Miss Ashley.
Okay, so sorry, you were going a little fast. So in 39, it was naming the kingdoms. I got the fourth, which was
Oh, okay.
Rome, but I was trying to write them down. And then I have one other small question.
Sorry. I taught college, so I was used to my students doing shorthand. I do need to slow that down, don't I? So in 39, okay, so we have the gold is Babylon. The silver is Media Persia. The bronze is Greece. And then the iron is Rome. And then the 10 toes those are the 10 tribes of Israel scattered into the primary Roman world. And they're partly of iron, partly of clay. So this is that Christian Roman system of Christians and Protestants together, the harlot and her daughters in Revelation 17. And the clay are the children of Israel, because we are the clay, he is the potter, and there's this extrication coming at that point. Who wants to be the toe fungus? What nation should we say is the toe fungus? They didn't even include that. I'm sure there's a nation that's the toe fungus. Okay, is that all your question was, sweetie?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go over to Cass.
Thank you. I have less questions and more like comments that I thought were interesting. Trump is doing his peace thingy in the beginning of the 11th biblical month. Thought that was interesting.
Yes! Oh, yes, because we just finished the first day on the 11th month, Shavat. So in the 11th hour, the number 11 also, let me just tell you a few things here. The number 11 represents the number Judas, because after Judas was the betrayer, right? Then we were left with 11. right? The Antichrist is from the tribe of Dan. Judas represents this person from within the house of Israel that looks like a Christian. He's gonna, right, and he's the betrayer. So when you see the number 11, it's one short of the full, and you know the betrayer's at hand. That's the prophetic meaning of the number 11. It's like pretty big stuff. So he's choosing. You're right. I didn't notice. He's going to do it. Well, then tomorrow will be the second day. No, but yeah, well, yeah, second day of the 11th month. Ooh, what else did you have?
Another thing in verse 45, I find it interesting that he doesn't go in order of
Yeah.
the metals. He puts the clay in the center, and it just makes me think that Israel's been in the center of all of it.
Yes, it's that perfect. Exactly. We're in the middle of all of it. This is all around Israel, and we're like these little troublers. If we hadn't sinned, God wouldn't have to do all this. We're just little gnats sometimes. We're like a little annoyance. Make him work hard to save us. We're like those sheep trying to die. Ah, we're trying to die. Our sheep, all the time. Okay, great points. Hello. Go ahead, Miss. There we go, Stephanie.
Yeah, okay. I was making sure I wasn't making noise while Cass was talking. Um, so anyway, just a clarification on the clay because the stone obliterated the clay too. Is that the people that stay in the system that don't turn to Yeshua?
I think it's just part of this tribulation that it says, we're going to be refined through fire through what's coming.
Yeah, that's true.
So all of our pride is going to be brought down with the midst
Gotcha.
of everyone else's, Israel's the most to blame.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay,
All of
thank
us
you.
Israelites. I'm not like becoming anti-Semitic. I'm a Jew. So those people who
Yeah,
are going to take that word out of context, that's not what I meant. I meant that we cause God great grief because we sin. We
yeah,
have sinned, and therefore he has to try to work to save us.
thank you.
Chapter 3. Sorry, guys, my hair's bothering me. I'm so like winter's hard because you have your hair up in a hat all day and then it feels gross. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, and I about died today. It was like 23 degrees, but there was sun. I'm like, oh, surely I won't die. I can go on a walk. Well, forgetting that the wind chill made it almost zero, and the wind was like 1,000 miles an hour, and I about died. I'm like, I told Jim, I got back, I'm like, I'm gonna die. That was so stupid. First, I thought it wasn't, and then I did realize I was not the brightest on that one. My biscuit, well, what does it say? The elevator didn't get to the top on that thought. Okay, Daniel chapter 3. This is so good. This is so good. This is so good. Listen up. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits. Six, the number of man, times 10. Six. So when you see a number in Hebrew and it's exemplified to the 10th power, it's kind of like this exponential, like the fullness of it. So this is the ugliestness of man, like totally portrayed here. So he had an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits, and it's with 6 cubits, total man. Because now, why do we say the number 6 is the number of man? On the sixth day of creation, man was created. Okay. So some people, I have done so much prophecy over the last 24 and a half years, I can lose you, and I apologize if I do. But this number 6 is based on the number of man because man was created on the sixth day of creation. Okay, and if you have questions, you guys can join Zoom. We have plenty of room. So he set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Babylon, confusion, Revelation 17, the harlot Babylon will be judged. The religious system, again, let's go back to the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, they created put all humans together in a one world religion where they all spoke the same language. They were worshiping the sun, trying to reach to the heavens by their own man made efforts. And Yah destroyed it. Babylon, confusion, the harlot. See, the only way for humans to bridge the gap from our humanity on earth to the heavens is through the ladder Jacob, and that's Yeshua. So Jacob's ladder is a picture of Yeshua bridging the gap between man and the heavens. In our own religious efforts, we can never ascend above the clouds. We can never get higher than the top of a ziggurat, and then we just fall to nothing. Man-made religion never gets us anything but confusion, because the ways of man are foolish, but the ways of Yah are righteous, holy, just, and perfect, full of wisdom, full of holiness, full of beauty. So again, we see at the end here a one world system being ramped up. The word Catholic means universal. Catholics call the Protestants her daughters because the Protestants keep the Sunday Sabbath of the Catholic faith. The Protestants follow the Catholic holidays, not the biblical holidays. And now they're incorporating more and more and more. They're going to call the Islamists their brothers. They're going to call the Hindu. They're going to call Bahutalakias their brothers, whatever they want to say. Whatever religions you have out there. They're saying everything is the same. They all worship the same God, but we know that's not true. We know that's not true. So as there's this division of the pagans and the Babylonians, and the wicked are becoming more wicked, and you can see that on social media, and the righteous are becoming more righteous. There's this huge divide happening. Those going up the Tower of Babel and us going up Yeshua the HaMashiach, the ladder, getting more like his nature, becoming more humble, becoming more like him, more holy. This is a narrow path. This one leads to nowhere other than hell, perdition, whatever. I know. That word hell isn't what it says. I get it. I get lots of comments. Okay. So in the plains of Babylon, this is like prophetic of the end time judgment of Babylon. Verse 2. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. What is the final abomination of desolation? We don't know. We don't know yet. Just read the scripture and be prepared with eyes wide open. It will be something which men deem as gold, important. It could be money. It could be systems. It could be knowledge. It could be, you know what I mean? It's going to be based on this Roman system somehow, perpetuated by perhaps, if this board of peace is the last 10, who knows if this is, but it'll be something like this, right? Based on the European Christian nations. America being that fullness of it, right? America is kind of like the big butt of all of Europe, because Europeans went right into America. That's what America is based on, is Europeans. So think of us as the big butt where all the fat settled. Okay, that's where we're at. And there's going to be something in some system or something that we worship. Or we aren't going to worship it, that they're going to try to get the world to worship. Okay, verse 3. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, notice these are world leaders. These are leaders of his government then. The leaders are in charge of this. Notice again the prophecy. The world leaders will be the ones pushing you to do this, whatever is coming. The magistrates and the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages." Now, I could see this being a golden image of Jesus. What about you guys? Audrey, you think so? Here, I'm going to give that. I could see this definitely. Now, I do also know they have a statue. They have a statue of Prince Charles down in South America, and I'm quite certain we have plenty of statues also of Trump around the world. But what were you going to say?
AI.
An AI image?
Yeah, like an actual like robot, because they're going to cause it to speak, it says.
And possibly it says a false prophet will cause, will have the image to give voice. And I have thought about that too. It'll be through some kind of, of engineering that way. I agree. It'll be something that where they're going to cause it to actually seem like life. So is AI what we're worshiping, or is AI behind whatever this creation is? I think it could work together. I think they could manufacture a false Jesus. I don't know. And maybe I should not have put that thought in your head, but I keep thinking like, Christians love that white Jesus. Like the very blonde, blue-eyed Jesus that wasn't what at all what Jesus looked like. The Jesus that's a hippie Jesus that says you can eat a ham sandwich and you can sin now because he's against the good God that fought off the bad God, which is horrible thoughts, right? I don't know. I'm just saying we should keep our eyes wide open, but that's interesting to me to think about it. Is it a giant cross that speaks? Is it who knows what it is? Let's just keep our eyes wide open, okay? But definitely I agree with Audrey. I've always thought that AI is going to be used to make it speak in some capacity. Then a herald cried out. Well, I haven't always thought that, just for the last like 5 years. So let me clarify. I didn't know about AI 25 years ago. So then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and tongues, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. The false prophet tells people to worship the image. Interesting. Okay, so here we have the king, Nebuchadnezzar, was saying, hey, worship this image. Worship this image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fire furnace. So if you don't take the mark of the beast, and you can't buy or sell, then you're thrown into the fire hotter than ever. You're thrown into the persecution, the fiery furnace. You see this parallel? Okay, so be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre in symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. I think this is a prophecy of the entire world partaking in this system and worshiping whatever this system is. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans or Babylonians came forward and accused the Jews. This is only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi right here. Who is in the land of Israel currently? Only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi primarily. So is this image going to be set up in the temple, the third temple that's coming? And is this the abomination of desolation? And then the Jews won't bow to this, and then the fire gets thrown hotter? The furnace gets burning hotter and the people get thrown in the furnace. Is that what this is? And that attack comes to all of us around the world who won't cave into the system and take the mark of the beast? Because Judah and Ephraim, Jews and Israel, I don't know. These are things that I'm telling you I see things ramping up in this way, okay? So they accuse the Jews. I'm going to include here for us, our purposes, all of Israel. So Judah and Ephraim, believers. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. We will not buy or sell without a mark. Part of the mark of the beast is linked to breaking the Sabbath. We will not worship their gods. We will worship only our God. We will not take the mark of the beast. We will not bow to their gods. So then what happens? Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made good, but if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that's the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. Please repeat with me. But if not, if God says no and he lets us die for his name's sake, even if, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. It is easy to say it now when our children are not at gunpoint. It is easy to say it now when we risk starvation. It is easy to say it from the comfort of a first world country with a hot bath sitting behind me if I want to go take it, a wash machine, food. You must prepare yourself to say this when you are at your lowest. And if you can't even keep a smile on your face when your husband's being mean to you, if you can't even be friends with a Taurus sister who might disagree with you, if you can't get out of your feelings there, honey, you're going to have a real heartache with what's coming. If you can't overcome your first world problems, how are you going to stand in the face of the horses? If you can't keep up with the footmen, how are you going to stand? If you can't not just go through a day of not having depression because you feel alone, what are you going to do when you've been in solitary isolation and you haven't had food for 40 days? What are you going to do when they're raping your family, when they're killing you, when you're bound and gagged? What are you going to do when they starve you and they're throwing you towards the incinerator and they're going to say, take the mark or else you go there? What are you going to do when they say, take the mark or your children are going to die? What are you going to do? See, if you don't practice faith now, if you don't get yourself to overcome these little tiny annoyances that God is allowing in your life to make you stronger for what's coming, you're going to fail. All of you right now are having little tiny trials in comparison to what's coming. Please don't fail these tests. These are little quizzes, little challenges, little trainings to get you prepared for what's coming. So somebody's nasty to you, forgive. Somebody says something wrong to you, overlook it and pray for them. You feel lonely? Then you worship and you train your mind to be still with the one who you know is there, even if you don't see him. Your family's persecuting you and threatening you for your faith? Rejoice and praise God, because it's going to get worse, honey. You've got a hard test already to prepare you for what's coming, because the whole world will hate the remnant. If you can't keep up now, this is why I was weeping a week and a half ago. I wasn't sad about the other person saying things about me. I could 99.99% of the time, I could care less what anybody says about me. I love them. You can't make me hate you. I'm going to pray for you, and I'll call you a little poop head if you are one. I'll just call it what it is, but I'll still love you. But I ain't going to play dumb. But I ain't going to be sad if you leave. I'm happy if you leave, if you're being nasty to me. Like, I love you. I'll pray for you from over here. Go. Get your little skunk butt over there. But the Father was telling me, Mel, they're not prepared. He said, they're not prepared, Mel, and they're not listening. And they're not overcoming these little challenges. They're giving into their feelings. They're feeling bad for themselves, their victim mentalities. He goes, and they're not ready. He said, Mel, it's going to be so hard for them. He said, pray for them. And I started just weeping for all of you, for all of the brothers and sisters. Because he said, Mel, you've been trained 24 years and it still ain't easy. He said, can you imagine what it's like for somebody only 3 years in Torah? Can you imagine what it's like for somebody only a couple years in Torah? He goes, Mel, it's going to be really hard for them. Pray for them. Cover them. And so when we don't bow and we're thrown in the furnace, we can't do what the first century church did. You know what the first century church did? When they risked taxation, when they risked jail time, they said, well, we'll just pretend Sunday's about Jesus' resurrection because we don't want to lose our land. We don't want to get thrown in jail, and we don't want to be taxed. We don't want to be killed. But I'm telling you, buttercups, we are here to be the bride. And the bride doesn't compromise. The bride is not ashamed of her king or his ways. And the bride will go to our death fighting for the truth of our God. And he can save us. And he will save us. But if he allows us to be a martyr for his namesake, praise be to God. He is good. We will never bow. And you must become so resilient right now that you will not bow no matter what happens. Some of you go in, you get so depressed, you go get a drink of alcohol. Really? You had a first world hard day. I'm not saying it wasn't hard, but that ain't nothing compared to what's coming. Get away from that bottle. Get away from the marijuana. Get away from the intoxication. Get your mind sober and clean. It's going to be intense to purify us. The first century church couldn't make it through. The people who were right after Yeshua, and you think you're going to stand. I am trying to put the fear of the living God in you so you prepare yourself. The first century church that had just seen Yeshua started to compromise right away because Marcion hated us Jews. And he said, don't listen to that. Don't listen to the book of Matthew. Don't listen to Mark. Don't listen to anything but Luke. At least he didn't sound Jewish. That's what Marcion said. And then other people was like, well, we don't want to do anything like that. So, and then all of a sudden, by the fourth century, after Yeshua, they were already willing to compromise. You're 2,000 years later. But the one thing I say about us, because we are the AKEV lowest generation, we ain't got nowhere to go but up. We've got nowhere to go but up. So let's hold on to our King, resist to the end, and be prepared. Verse 19, then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it is usually heated. Do you think that's like the intensification of 7? That's huge. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. He's like, you won't bow to my gods? You won't bow to this image? You're going to hear, you don't take the mark of the beast? Then you don't eat. That's your furnace. Or I'm throwing you in jail. That's your furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. See, the people that throw you into the furnace, they're going to die too. The fire's going to burn them. The fire's going to burn them. But if you hold on, what's going to happen? Here's your story if you hold on. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, true, O king. Look, he said, I see 4 men loose. Who saw 4 men? Who saw 4 men? Nebuchadnezzar. Your enemies will see your God with you on the day you don't bow. Your enemies will see your God, and you will be glorifying him. There's nothing here that says Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego saw the 4th man in the fire. There's nothing in this text that says they saw God with them. But with their faith and with their words, they proclaimed, our God will save us, and even if he says no. Today, all your struggles, all your trials, your infirmities, your afflictions, your wives, your husbands, all the fires you're going through in your life, can you say right now, even if my God says no and lets me go through this, takes my family, takes my life, takes my job, takes anything from me, even if I will not bow. Because see, the whole purpose of the tribulation is to take away our strongholds. That's in Micah. Read chapters 5 through 7. All of your strongholds. What if God takes away all your money? Even if, surrender it. What if God takes away your health? Job, even if he is good. What if he takes away your family? Even if he is good. You don't compromise. This is not a time to compromise with the devil. You are not dancing with the devil. This is not a time to blend in. This is a time to stand out in holiness. This is the separation from the 10 toes, the clay from the iron. You are not to compromise with the devil. You are not to compromise with the Babylonian beast system. Get out of it. And do not coddle it. Do not compromise it. You are not flattering. You cannot flit your eyes, especially if you wear those long eyelash things. You cannot flit your eyes enough to flirt with the devil to get him to see. He who has eyes to see will see. He who has ears to hear will hear. Do not compromise for the devil. This is not the day to dance with the devil. Some of you are trying to dance with the devil and you think you can say it just right. No, this is the time of firm faith in love. Yeshua didn't dance with the devil. He did not compromise, and he did not do masquerading parties of pretending he was like the devil to get people to Yah. And Nebuchadnezzar said, look, he said, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they're not hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. That's Yeshua. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. When you walk through the fire, I will be with you, he says. When you walk through the waters, I will be with you, and the fire shall not burn you. If you cling to your God, if you cling to your God, and you say, my God can save me, but even if he says, no, I'm not going the bad way. I'm not going to have a bad attitude. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit. I'm not going to go to false gods, false strongholds. I'm not going to go to medicine. I'm not going to go to money. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to compromise with the beast system. Surrender all to him, and he will be right with you. Because even if he says no, some of y'all are so afraid to leave the worst place ever we could be. Being in his presence is where we want to be. Escaping the problems of this world is a joy. Don't do it to yourself. Don't get some weird ideas, some of you. But if he says no, and he says he's going to let you suffer, tomorrow, promise me, you will work on rejoicing. So your wife's falsely accusing you, or your ex-wife's trying to take your children. You rejoice that God has counted you worthy to suffer, and you thank him for the trial to give you peace, hope, perseverance in the trial. You ask, how can I represent you in this trial, O Messiah Yeshua? How can I glorify your name? How can I represent your character? If your husband's being aggressive or your family's being aggressive, you say, Father, how do I represent you best right now? How do I stand firm to your truth and never compromise? Thank you for this trial. When you're afflicted in pain, you're like, thank you, Almighty King of God, my healer, my Savior. I know you can heal me. You've promised to be my healer, but if it's not until the next life, even if I don't go back to Egypt, I will not mix with pharmakeia. See, practice with the small things so that you can stand through the big things. Verse 27. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. If you hold on through this tribulation coming, if you hold on through the coming time of persecution, if you don't try to flatter the devil, if you don't compromise, you don't take the mark of the beast, you don't bow down to the false gods of Egypt, and you let go of your strongholds, the fourth man will be in the fire with you, even when you're saying, Eli, Eli, sabachthani, where are you? My God, why did you forsake me? Even in the depths of the pit of your screaming cry, you know he's there. And I know you know what I'm talking about, that cry where you can't breathe. You're on the last hope you have, and you have nothing left, and you're like, where are you, God? You have to remember, faith is not seen. Faith pushes beyond what you see. And in those moments of darkness, where perhaps your children were taken, or crucify, or whatever happens during this coming tribulation, whatever it says he will wear out the saints. Let's say you're hungry and you're having half a cup of food per day. Let's say you've lost all your possessions and you're cold and hungry, because the Bible says we will no longer cry, we will no longer thirst, we will no longer hunger. That means we're going to do so during the tribulation. And even the woman who's hidden in the wilderness for 1260 days where she's nourished is not going to live extravagantly. She's going to be pretty skinny bones. So you practice rejoicing through these trials. You practice knowing he is there because he said so. Jesus loved me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. You don't always see Yeshua right there, but you know he's there because he said it and his word is forever true. This is not fear-mongering. This is getting you ready for the storm that's coming. I promise you, we are at the gate of the furnace. I promise you, very soon you will see this. There is no preacher of rapture. Verse 28, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel, that's Yeshua, and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies that they should not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Are you willing to give up your body to not worship the God of medicine, the God of money, the false God of the system? Are you not going to take the mark of the beast? Are you willing to starve for your God? Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. After the tribulation, after Messiah returns, we'll be in his arms. And some of us will die for our faith. Some of us will die for his name's sake. There is a huge amount of martyrs that will be killed during the tribulation. Fear not. Your soul is more precious than gold. Be faithful unto death, Yeshua says. Yeshua, our Savior says, be faithful unto death. We're going to die, some of us. And that's okay. Don't fear death. Again, Satan has no power over you if you have no fear. If you trust and you know that everything that happens to you is in accordance with what God has allowed for your good, to refine you, to purify you, to test you, to teach you, to lead you, to guide you, to bring you into his image, then there is nothing Satan can do against you that will make you fall. Surrender and stay faithful. Mr. Dale.
Hello, how's everybody? Hey, I
Everybody's
was
probably a little somber now after that, huh?
I was kind of returning back to what you were talking about, AI and deception. I've been keeping up with some of the robotics in AI, and they are looking more and more real with
Oh,
skin
yeah.
color and
Oh, yeah.
and everything. They actually have one, I think it's in Thailand, but don't hold me to that. I know it's in one of those areas that they have dressed up like a monk. And they have her posed or it posed. And if you go in, it will answer questions around philosophy and stuff. And it
Yeah.
has
Oh,
eye
yeah.
movement, facial expressions, and everything. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if they're at that stage right now, think where they're going to be in another 10 years.
Oh, well, I don't think we have 10 years, but yeah, if, in another couple of years, I get it. I get it. Whatever we've got, right? We don't know exactly the timeline, but we're close. And AI is going to progress. In fact, Gaza is slated to be an AI city, right? So Jared has been working on that since what, 2017? Jared Kushner. So, and now Trump. Yeah. Okay. I know that was a lot to ingest. You guys want to keep going because we can do this over the next few days. I just want to see if you want to keep going. You guys, okay, you have some time in you. I know some of you East Coasters, it's 10:30, so okay. As long as Tristan's here, we got it. Okay, so there we go. There you go, Tristan. Hi, guys.
Hey, can you hear me okay? I'm a little I'm
Yes.
recovering, so I sound probably horrible. So my
Sorry.
biggest thing was, we're currently in Babylon, and back in chapter 8, they were respectful, but we don't obey. How how do they go along those lines? Is that how we're walking currently? We're being respectful to our current Babylon state, but we're currently, excuse me,
And
but we're in
what
this
verse,
part.
honey?
It starts in chapter 3, verse 8, where it just talks
Hmm.
about Daniel's friends disobey the king, how they were respectful, but like we still don't
Right.
obey. So that's how we're walking now. Like we're
Right.
respectful to people, and then but we don't obey. Like how does that look in the future when it
And
comes
we
to like being, how are you still respectful when we're dealing with what's to come? Like at one point, is there not respect to the higher authority? Do
right.
you see what I'm saying? Like when do we
I
draw
do.
the line, or how do we draw the line for that without?
So so let's think about this. If let's say, well, and this is projection, we don't know exactly what it will look like. But let's say they're doing something like Egypt did where they're trying to kill the children, much like China does, right? They if you have more than one child, they force you to have an abortion, and many families end up either hiding their children or it's horrible. It's egregious. And so first of all, like I didn't comply at all with the vaccine. I just didn't comply, right? I didn't wear my mask, walked in Walmart and everywhere I went, and they were like, Miss. I'm like, have a blessed day. And I just walked by. I wasn't going to comply. I am not going to do that. And so I was respectful, but I stood my ground. If they come to me ever and say, you must take this vaccine or take this ID, this digital ID insertion to buy or sell, I'm like, absolutely not. I don't have to be nice. Like, well, Buttercup. I mean, David didn't play games with Goliath. He took those stones and knocked him out and then cut his head off, right? So we have to, for our faith, surrender. And of course, we can't play out all sorts of scenarios. We just don't know everything that will be. But if they come to our door and they're going to try to take my grandkids, I'm fighting. I'm fighting for my family. And I will do whatever it takes, meaning whatever it takes to protect my family from a government institution that would try to do anything against them, right? Whatever it would take. And so it doesn't ever say, like David was, I mean, when Yeshua comes back, there's a lot of dead people. So while the saints and we are being persecuted for our faith, at the same point, we know when Yeshua comes back at the end, boy, he has so many dead people, it takes us 7 months to cleanse the land from the dead bodies from this battle of Armageddon. We know that the prophetically, symbolically, the blood reaches to the horse's bridle. That is a picture that's not literal. But we do know there are so many dead bodies around Israel that it takes us 7 months to purify. That's Ezekiel 39. Again, another proof we're not in Satan's little season and Yeshua has not come back yet. Don't listen to those nunchucks if they say that crap. They really don't know what they're talking about. So we can't project. We can't fear. For 25 years, the Lord told me, 24 years, the Lord said, pray for Cyrus to arise. What did I think I was praying for in 2002? I had no clue. I was just talking to my husband about that. I'm like, okay, please let Cyrus arise to build the temple. That's all I'd pray. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means, but I'm praying it. And I would hear that for 24 years. I heard that. And now we have a coin with Cyrus on one side and Trump on the other. Then I was given a dream that Tony Blair was going to be made the liaison, whatever it's called, between Israel and Britain. He was going to be made. I don't know what the word is that they some leader. I was given the dream a year and a half before it happened. I was going to pull that dream out for our teaching that we're going to do. I'll pull that dream out. And the month before Tony Blair, before this whole dream happened, my journal flew off the shelf. I knew it was an angel because then it opened to that dream on the floor. How does that happen? Like you're walking down a hallway, a journal flies out and opens to a dream that's going to happen the next month that you had the prophecy of 1 to 3. I can't even remember how many years in advance. That doesn't happen. So right now, Tristan, what we can't do is know specifics of what's coming. We just know it's coming. We know to have an idea of preparation. We can look at examples in the Bible of resistance, but what we also can't do is be stupid. I do not want some of you on my team during the tribulation if you don't have wisdom. Like if I'm hiding my grandchildren in my tribulation pants and I've got two on each side and I'm walking and you out me, oh yeah, we do have our children in there. I'm going to be like, shut up, you nunchuck, you butt nugget. Because Moses' mother, Jochebed, hid Moses in the basket. She did not comply. Rahab hid the spies. I need some of you to get out of that dumb Christian mindset of because you don't shake hands and go pray for Goliath. I want to know I've got a warrior by my side who's got the stones ready and I got the sword. Right? I don't want somebody who's like, maybe I should just tell Goliath I'm going to just go wash his feet and I'm going to pray for him. Bless his heart, because you got no discernment. And some of you don't have any discernment. I see you because you're just like, oh my gosh, they say they love Torah. So I'll be a Torah slut and jump right in bed with them, even though they don't follow all the Torah. I'm just going, let's do that. Some of you have no discernment. This is the time of the separation, even amongst the Torah movement, of those who are going to holiness and those who are going to be judged as the daughter. You don't just hang out with company who's dirty, who dulls your blade just to have a friend. You better be calling them out and pushing them on to good works. And if they don't want to hear it, pray for their soul, but go on. Yeshua, amongst his own people of the believers, John 2, chapter 21, says he didn't commit to them. His own people. You don't see Yeshua sitting there dealing out with everybody. He had 12 disciples. And then he chose 70 to send out of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. He didn't sit there and hang out with everyone. He shared with everyone. They had the opportunity to hear, but he did not commit to them. John 2:21. For a reason. I always tell my local fellowship, and I tell you guys, my team members are going to be the ones who will be brutally honest with me, who will push me onto good works, and those who want the prize. I don't want no lukewarmies on my team. Go to another team. Go to the BC squad. I don't care. I want the A-team players. You ready to crush the flesh? You ready to die to yourself? You ready to be the daughter, the bride? The bride of Messiah? You want to do it? That's who I want on my team. The one screaming at me when I can't crawl another 10 yards. And you're going, got this. Go, go, go. Crucify your flesh. Humility, humble. Stop your attitude. Fix your face. That's who I want on my team. The people who will be prepared. So when rubber hits the road, I got somebody right here on guard. We're hiding the children. I want you to have some common sense about you. You know what I mean? I was thinking about that a lot lately. I'm like, Lord, I just want the A-team. I don't want anybody who's going to hold my team back right now. I do not want the B team right now. Like, you're going to have to take care of them because I need people who will push me in the end, and I want to be able to push people. I want the people who we love each other. Let's make it to the end. No, Team Yeshua. Okay, chapter 4. Let's go. Nebuchadnezzar the king, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I thought it was good to declare the signs and wonders that the Most High Elohim has worked for me. How great are his signs and how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts on my head and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore I issued a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known to me the interpretation of the dream. Then the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers came in, and I told them the dream, but they did not make known to me its interpretation. But at last Daniel came before me. His name is Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God. In him is the spirit of the holy God. And I told the dream before him, saying, Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians. He's not a magician in that sense. Do not think it just means a wise one in this Babylonian empire, okay? Because I know that the spirit of the holy Elohim is in you, and no secret troubles you, explain to me the visions of my dream that I have seen in its interpretation. These were the visions of my head while on my bed. I was looking, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew and became strong. Its height reached to the heavens, and it could be seen to the ends of all the earth. Its leaves were lovely, its fruit abundant, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it. The birds of the heavens dwelt in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. I saw in the visions of my head while on my bed, and there was a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, "Chop down the tree and cut off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts get out from under it and the birds from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump and roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze, in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him graze with the beasts on the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from that of a man. Let him be given the heart of a beast." I do think this is a prophecy of perhaps the Antichrist. Listen. "And let 7 times, and this is thought to be 7 years, pass over him." See, because just like Judas, it says Satan entered Judas to get him to do the vile acts that he was doing. We know that in the end times, what do we have? We know we have the dragon, we have the Antichrist, and we have the false prophet. Satan doesn't come to earth just looking like Satan. Satan comes to the earth working through humans. Fallen angels are not going to come to the earth as robots. We're not going to have an alien invasion. Spirits work through humans. Spirits work through humans. Satan will be working through someone he possesses. I firmly believe this is a representation of that. Because, right, there's going to be this agreement of peace made, and then the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, correct? And so, while we will have, I think, deceptions for some of the conspiracy theory people who won't stay focused on the Word of God and want to be led astray by head knowledge, I think there will be little delusions happening of little, like, pretend little alien invasions of those people, getting them off track. So they get confused and argue about things that don't matter, and they're looking at the puppet's hands over here without looking at the prize. But we aren't going to have, like, the end times is not sci-fi. It's going to be more natural than you ever could assume, which is why it will delude the populace. Because if aliens showed up, it would be very obvious, and no one would take that mark of the beast, because it'd be like, oh, there's like all these things. No, it's going to look very normal. It's going to look just progressively, humanly worse. Okay. Verse 17, "This decision is by the decree of the watchers, and the sentence by the word of the holy ones, in order that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, gives it to whomever he will, and sets over it the lowest of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now you, Belteshazzar, declare its interpretation, since all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known to me the interpretation, but you are able, for the spirit of the holy Elohim is in you." Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for a time, and his thoughts troubled him. So the king spoke and said, "Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its interpretation trouble you." Belteshazzar answered and said, "My lord, may the dream concern those who hate you, and its interpretation concern your enemies. The tree that you saw, which grew and became strong, whose height reached to the heavens, and which could be seen by all the earth, whose leaves were lovely and its fruit abundant, in which was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and whose branches the birds of the heaven had their home. It is you, O king, who have grown and become strong, for your greatness has grown and reaches to the heavens, and your dominion to the end of the earth. And inasmuch as the king saw a watcher, a holy one, coming down from heaven and saying, 'Chop down the tree and destroy it, and leave its stump and roots in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let him graze with the beasts of the field till 7 times or 7 years pass over him.' This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my lord the king. They shall drive you from men. Your dwelling place shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make you eat grass like oxen. They shall wet you with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. And inasmuch as they gave the command to leave the stump and roots of the tree, your kingdom shall be assured to you after you come to know that heaven rules. Therefore, O king, let my advice be acceptable to you. Break off your sins by being righteous, and your iniquities by showing mercy to the poor. Perhaps there may be a lengthening of your prosperity. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the royal palace of Babylon. And a lot of us have been seeing the number 12, 12, 12, 12. Just this warning, we're in the last hour, right? 12, 12, like get ready. We're at that last hour. The king spoke, saying, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty? Well, notice how he gave himself all the glory. Do you know anybody else in the world right now who just thinks he's really awesome and everything he does is the best? Maybe somebody a little orange? Okay, anyway. While the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you, and they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling place shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. Now, in real life, Nebuchadnezzar was driven from his kingdom. He became certifiably mad and like insane, and then he was restored. I'm seeing this as a possible prophecy of from the Babylonian system, Babylon being the harlot Babylon of Revelation 17, the religious system of the Catholic Church with the Christians, right? That's the harlot and her daughters, which we're a Christian nation. America's a Christian world, right? The European world, the 10 northern tribes, or this Christian Babylonian empire's like main people. I am wondering if this is that possession of the Antichrist who does this last 7 years of atrocities, right? So 7 times passed over Nebuchadnezzar where he became like a beast. And so you have to be pretty possessed when you can read the Bible and still be doing the things in the Bible. Like when you put a patent on something, you buy a building that's number 666 Fifth Street, or you buy it for $1.8 billion, 3 sets of 6, 6 million, 6 billion, 6 billion, 6 billion. When you're doing things that are so blatantly laid out in scripture, things of the Antichrist system, when you are changing the times and laws, there's a certain amount of delusion that it has to be upon you for you to continue on in such a vein. Truly. So that very hour the word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from men and ate grass like oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven till the hair had grown like eagle's feathers and his nails like bird's claws. And at the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. What happens at the end of the tribulation? Yeshua returns to the Mount of Olives, according to Zechariah 14, and puts to rest the whole earth, the entire earth. There are Gentile nations who are in fact subjected to Yeshua. Under his reign, they follow the Torah. And Zechariah 14 says if they don't come to Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles, those Gentile nations, even Egypt, will be persecuted with the plague of no rain, will be judged. They won't get rain. America is the end time Egypt. Yes, we're riding the Babylonian harlot, but we are the end time Egypt. Khalil always points that out as well. It's very clear in the book of Jeremiah. So do you see that at the end of time, the deceivers, the wicked, that will know that Yeshua is king. And then he sets up his kingdom in Israel, rules from the Hechal, the temple, and the Torah goes to all the world. Isaiah 2, Micah 4, Isaiah 66, Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 40 through 48. And then it says at the end of that 1,000-year reign, you guys, Yeshua has not yet returned the second time. When he returns, the whole world obeys the law. When he returns, everybody goes to Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles or they don't get rain. That has never happened yet for 1,000 years. So then at the end of that 1,000 years, Satan comes with Gog and Magog, which are Russia and China, and he tries to deceive the whole world again. And that's the final battle, where then the new Jerusalem descends from the heavens. No more do we have sun, moon, and stars. That's when everything's renewed. Yeshua is the light, the Father's the light, and that's the great white throne judgment. Okay, I just wanted to kind of go through that timeline. Sorry. Okay, verse 35. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth, no one can restrain his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" At the same time, my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and splendor returned to me. My counselors and nobles resorted to me. I was restored to my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added to me. We see even in the book of Ezekiel where it says Egypt will be restored and Assyria will be restored, and there will be a highway between the two. Or is it Jeremiah? No, it's Ezekiel, isn't it? Now I'm forgetting which prophet's in. Sorry. We clearly see that there are other nations subjected to Yeshua. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all of whose works are truth and his ways justice, and those who walk in pride he is able to put down. Um, Now, chapter 5, well, we'll just keep doing it because I was like, I really want to get like to, I want to get to, if we can do the whole thing now, that'd be good. I understand if we have to do it in 2 nights, that's fine. Okay. Yes, Miss Cassandra, Cuban princess.
Just something else that I saw that in verse 34 when he like comes back to his brain, and he says, and at the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven. You were talking about how that's like prophetic to pretty much at the end when Yeshua returns. And I find it interesting that he says he lifted his eyes to see, that we will all lift our eyes to
Is
see
Yeshua will be
what
coming from
happens.
this? Yeah, that's a good one. Good. Somebody asked over here, so are we physically going to be in Israel? So that's a great question, Teresa. The second Exodus of Jeremiah 16, write that down, and Jeremiah 23, write that down. There's that second Exodus that will happen, we believe, after the tribulation. In Zechariah 14, it says Messiah Yeshua will return to the Mount of Olives with his saints with him. We are believing that those who are around the world, some of them will at that point, the dead in Christ will rise with Yeshua at that point and come to the Mount of Olives. There's a possibility that some of us will meet him in, I don't know, some of you, some people will meet him in the air and come at that point with him to Mount of Olives and fight the Battle of Armageddon. The other possibility is it's just like those, the dead in Christ who rise to come with him and go to the Mount of Olives, and then the people of Judah who are in the land will be with Yeshua HaMashiach and fight the battle against the nations that are all there. Zechariah 14 talks about the atomic bomb that comes upon the people who fight against Israel, the physical land of Israel today, which is why all the war right now is ramping up in physical Israel, because that's where Father has to, right? That's where it has to happen. He prophesied it. And so after the tribulation, that's when the children of Israel go back and divide up the land of Israel. Ezekiel 47 says that. So some people will be in Israel before, but that's primarily Judah, according to Zechariah 12. The tents of Judah are saved first. Judah gets a little bit better blessing than the Christian Gentile Ephraimites because Judah kept the Torah and Ephraim lost his identity. And so Judah is saved first, it says. And then the Israelites come back and join to him. Ezekiel 37 talks about the dead bones of Israel coming back to life, joining to that stick of Judah. But don't make any plans to move to Israel yet. There's places in the wilderness prepared for the woman, the 1260 days of Revelation 12, that will happen first. And those places are all around the world. I hope that made sense. There was another question over here. I didn't see it. Okay, never mind. Okay. And so a lot of times it actually talks about in Isaiah as well that the children of Israel will be brought back to the land of Israel on the wings of Tarshish. Those are airplanes. Tarshish there represents Britain in the Americas. So a lot of people are going to go home not walking. They're actually going to physically be in airplanes. So if you've had dreams and prophetic dreams that you're walking, most likely that's symbolic, not real, not literal, but that you will be going back. Okay. So Tristan has a question, and then Khalil, and then we'll keep going.
So my question has always been why during the 1,000 year millennial reign? And I know this is a little off, but you mentioned it briefly. Why would you not come to the yearly, like to do while
because
he
it's
was in the
very,
kingdom?
very
Like it,
normal. It's not going to be supernatural. People don't understand that we will look like humans still during the millennial kingdom. And God, they're going to
oh,
be, it's just like life just continues just with Yeshua, just like Yeshua came to earth as a man during that
yes.
fourth day, he's going to
Uh-huh.
come back as a man.
And they're not, oh, that makes my heart sad for them. Okay.
I don't. They're too stupid to believe. That's them stupid. I mean, I want them to believe, but I mean, they all have a chance. Stupid is as stupid as dumb. And like, I feel bad for people, but that's their choice.
So, okay. So, and that was, I guess, what I was also stating as well is like during COVID, our family, we were literally screamed at in Target. Like 100 people turned and looked at my family of five, no mask on. Anyway, it happened a lot. Um, so, we were very persecuted because there was we and like three other families. But anyway, um, so my thought process is it's just this is how it's going to be in the future. Like people aren't going to know. We're still gonna be walking through where we're just standing bold regardless. And then during the 1,000-year millennial reign, they're gonna miss it. And it's okay for me not to be like,
Right.
it's okay.
Well,
I
here's the
don't
thing. Yeshua will be king on earth from Jerusalem, from Israel, and the entire earth will be subjected to him. Like they will
no
be
matter
under,
what.
right. They will, well, because he will have conquered the world. And so the whole world obeys the Torah, is subjected to the Torah in some capacity, but we see that there must be some resistance because it says if Egypt doesn't come up to Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles to worship the king, Zechariah 14, they get no rain. So there's some rebellion still allowed. There's sin offerings still going on, but it says during that time the children of Israel have no sin. So it's got to be for the nations or the people still coming or perhaps transgressing parts of the Torah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep. Again, a lot of this stuff, don't worry about understanding it all. Know the scripture so that when Yah works it out, you just do it. You don't have to know who the Antichrist is. You just have to know what he's going to be doing. If he's teaching against the Torah, if he's doing these peace deals, you're like, oh, I've been reading about this guy, right? So sometimes some of you want to know exactly what it's going to look like. You just can't. You absolutely cannot. Just like the disciples, they knew the scriptures and they would be walking and they'd be like, and it always says, then they realized that's what Yeshua was talking to them about. Sometimes you just have to know a basic idea of it, if that makes sense. Okay. Would you tell everybody to stop texting? Because my phone is blowing up and I even have my notifications off. I'm totally joking. Cass, don't tell him. But it's just blowing up my phone. I was just like, oh my gosh, stop. Okay. Chapter 5. Nebuchadnezzar, Belteshazzar's feast. This is, okay, actually, Belshazzar. So Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple, which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. So this is the son of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was humbled by Elohim, had a reverence and a fear of Elohim, but we're going to find out his son did not. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the temple of the house of Elohim, which had been in Jerusalem, and the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. In the same hour, the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. That is that's like a figure of speech and analogy. That did not actually happen. His hips didn't pop out of joint. This is a picture showing us that he was afraid. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation shall be clothed with purple, which is the color of royalty, and have a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing or make known to the king its interpretation. Then King Belshazzar was greatly troubled. His countenance was changed, and his lords were astonished. The queen, because of the words of the king and the lords, came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke, saying, O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts trouble you, nor let your countenance change. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy Elohim, and in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. Inasmuch as an excellent spirit, knowledge, understanding, interpreting dreams, solving riddles, and explaining enigmas were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will give the interpretation. Then Daniel was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah, whom my father the king brought from Judah? Again, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, who were captured in this event. I have heard of you that the spirit of Elohim is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they could not give the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can give interpretations and explain enigmas. Now, if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing to the king and make known to the king the interpretation. O king, the Most High Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty, glory and honor, and because of the majesty that he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished he executed, whomever he wished he kept alive, whomever he wished he set up, and whomever he wished he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened, in pride he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men. His heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heavens, till he knew that the Most High God rules in the kingdom of men and appoints over it whomever he chooses. But you, his son Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. So here's what we're saying. You should have seen what Elohim did to your father. You should have known this. But you haven't humbled your heart. And you have lifted yourself up against Yahweh, the Lord of heaven. They have brought the vessels of his house before you. That word house there is the word we often use, the bait, for the temple. And you and your lord, your wives and your concubines have drunk wine from them, and you have praised the gods of silver and gold, bronze and iron, wood and stone, which do not see or hear or know. And the Elohim who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and this writing was written, and this is the inscription that was written, Mene, Mene, Techel, Upharsim. This is the interpretation of each word, Mene. God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then, remember, after the Babylonian Empire came the Medo-Persian Empire. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and they clothed Daniel with purple and put a chain of gold around his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. That very night Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So King Darius now is a Mede from Media-Persia, like the Persian area. And this came true. And I don't know that this is so much of a prophecy for the end, this particular chapter, but it is a prophetic word for every single one of us, specifically you young people. When you see others sin and transgress Yah and suffer judgment for their sins, it should put the fear of Elohim in you, and you should fear God and not suffer the same consequences as them. When you see your dad rebel against God, don't go that path. When you see your mother rebel against Yah, don't go down that path. See, you will be accountable. You cannot choose to listen to worldly music simply because your dad does. You can't choose to listen to watch worldly shows because your parent did. You don't have the right to continue mixing yourself into the Babylonian wicked system simply because your parents did. Because you've seen some of the punishments and judgments put upon your parents, your elders, your people around you. Sickness, plagues, diseases, punishments, trials, tribulations, all the things that Father allowed to happen to these people around you, you have seen. And it should make you wiser to obedience. But sometimes some of you harden your heart and you're like, well, he did it or she did it, so I'm going to do it too. And you show yourself worse than your father or worse than your mother because you should have seen the punishments and judgments Elohim put upon them. And this is a huge thing I see in the body of Messiah. I see children learning the sins of their fathers and learning the sins of their mothers. I see them repeating the consequences and the actions where they should have learned. You should have learned from the trials, from the afflictions. So let's make sure we all are paying note to that. This is where Judah did, in fact, get extremely in trouble from the father. He's like Yah said in the prophet, he says, you saw what harlot Israel did to me, and then you did the same thing. Like you did the same thing. You saw that I cast her away for what she did, and you went and did the same sins. Some of you see the heartache that your dad, your mother, your father, your friends have inflicted upon your whole family because of their bad choices, and then you're doing the same stupid. You need to stop, and we need to think about what we're doing and bring honor to God. Okay, how about this? Because there's 12 chapters. What if we do one more chapter tonight and then try to finish the others tomorrow night? Because I didn't have anything planned tomorrow night. I've just been doing taxes, which is like not fun on the brain. So I've been doing taxes. And so if we finish chapter 6 tonight and then do the continuation tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay. I don't think, let me look at my calendar really fast to make sure I don't have anything else scheduled tomorrow night. Just to make sure. Oh, yeah, I'll pick that up. Nope, I have 2 meetings tomorrow in the morning. So tomorrow evening I'm free. All my work is in the morning tomorrow on that capacity, but my Bible just dropped, so I have to open it up to chapter 6. Sorry, guys. But any questions on that chapter? That one didn't have as much. Okay. We didn't get to the really good chapters, but it'll be good tomorrow because tomorrow morning, Trump actually has his meeting with the Board of Peace. And we did good to go through chapter 2, which talks about these people, but there's way more to go through. So tomorrow night, you better be alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic because take an extra nap. Sherry, bring more information. Sherry's going to get all the juicies too. All of you bring lots of the juicies. And tomorrow night, we'll finish the conclusion of Daniel and how it relates to this possibly to this board of peace, but what is very close at the door for all of us, no matter what. But tonight was powerful. Like chapter 3, man, talking about going through your flesh. I mean, walking through the fire. Tonight was super powerful. I'm not negating that. I just really want to get to chapter 11. Really want to get to chapter 11. Okay, Sherry has one thing to add, and then we're going to go through chapter 6.
Something I wanted to just mention when you were talking about the Pope, you know that the picture that we know our grandparents used of the Pope of Jesus,
Yes.
was Caesar Borgia. He was actually an illegitimate son of a pope, Pope Alexander V. I did not even know that. So when you were talking about the whole illegitimate and the Pope, and that's another way that kind of all just ties together, bastardization of, and I do believe that Jesus will be the image that everybody will, some image of Jesus.
You're
Like
saying you're thinking about the golden image or the thing that they worship, you mean?
Yeah. I believe so, yes.
That's I could definitely see that the most also because people seem to love that and more than ever now. Jesus is popular, but not the real Jesus. The real Jesus isn't popular, but the fake Jesus is that tells them they're okay if they're gay, that tells them they're okay if they get tattoos, that tells them they're okay if they have sex outside of marriage. That Jesus is the one everybody heralds. The true Yeshua, who's coming back with the tongue of a sword, which is the word of God, to slice and dice, they ain't too happy about that one, but they're going to meet him soon. You know what I mean? So I think that's right. And if you think about Alexander representing Greece, Alexander the Greek, right? The fifth, number five, so the counterfeit of Torah, the bastard child of
Yes,
Torah,
that's
the
exactly
perversion
what
of
I
the
was
Torah.
thinking.
Yeah, the perversion of the Torah versus the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, last chapter for tonight, and then we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, that the satraps might give account to them, so that the king would suffer no loss. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to setting him over the whole realm. So the governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. You better be living like this. So honest, so upright, where everything you do is faultless in the matters of those situations. Then these men said, we shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God. You guys, the Antichrist system will only find fault with us against the law of our God. They're going to impose Sunday laws. They're going to impose all sorts of things against the Torah. That's why the Bible, right, we're going to get to it tomorrow. The Antichrist flatters those who forsake the covenant. We're not going to forsake the covenant, are we? So these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to him, King Darius, live forever. All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and satraps, the counselors and advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Are we going to pray to a false god? No, Daniel did not pray to a false god, did he? Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. Therefore, King Darius signed the written decree. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home. Here you go, Tristan. Daniel didn't care. And in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days. We're going to sit there and be praying towards Jerusalem. We're going to be praying for the forgiveness. We're going to be praying for restoration. Even when they tell us we can't pray. Notice what's happening in Europe right now? If you pray on the streets, you're attacked. Have you noticed that? If you are proselytizing, you're getting thrown in jail. You're persecuted in all sorts of ways right now. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. So they tried to trap him when he was doing what was right, because they knew that he would be praying to his God. So people are going to be trapping us in the ways of God. They're always trying to trap us in our words anyway, aren't they? Well, how come you don't go and stone people? Because did you ever read the Torah? People don't just fill their pockets up with rocks and go chuck them at whoever they want. Like there's a procedure where the Levites have to be in position with the Urim and the Thummim, and the judgment has to come from God. You got to have the 2 to 3 witnesses and all these things. We don't have the temple right now. So we're on pause until we have the temple. I mean, it wasn't for us to carry around pockets of rocks to throw at each other anyway. You didn't just have to worry about getting a rock thrown at the back of your head. And they went before the king and spoke concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree that every man who petitions any god or man within 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true and according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. So they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of the captives from Judah, does not show due regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. And the king, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men approached the king and said to the king, Know, O king, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians that no decree or statute which the king establishes may be changed. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. But the king spoke, saying to Daniel, Your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. So here's this king he knows. He's like, I've got to do this. But your God, whom you serve, will deliver you. Then a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signets of the Lord's, that the purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. Are you ready to go to the lion's den? You guys ready to go to the lion's den for your faith? I mean, it's going to be intense, guys, soon, because we're not going to bow to the false gods, and we're going to continue praying to our God. Now the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting, and no musicians were brought before him. Also his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. Now remember, it says Satan prowls around like a lion to destroy and to devour. But we also have the Lion of Judah, right? So there's the Lion of Judah, and then the counterfeit of that is Satan. So Satan tries to destroy us, whereas Yeshua, the Lion of Yehudah, Arya Yehudah, defends us. Verse 19, Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried out with a lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever! Hi, Hashem! I'm here. Hey, kiddos, let's make sure we're not being distractions for people, okay? Let's be respectful. So Daniel said to the king, I'm here. Live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O king, I have done no wrong before you. Now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he believed in his Elohim. Listen to those words. Because he believed in his Elohim. That means he committed to his God. He was delivered by his faith. Remember, Yeshua walked through the midst of Israel and could not heal them, and he marveled that there was no faith, so he couldn't heal them. And at times, our lack of faith and our disbelief is what holds us back from receiving the promises. He says, I can't do any work. The power of the Holy Spirit's here today, but I can do no works because there's no faith. There's no belief. That's what Yeshua said. And the man cried out probably one of the most powerful prayers we should all cry. Oh, help me with my unbelief. I believe, but help me with my unbelief. And I think that we need to make that a principal prayer in all of our hearts every single day. I believe, but help me with my unbelief. Anywhere there is still unbelief. Now that word belief means to commit to be steadfast, to be immovable. See, my faith is my faith, and you can't have Melissa's faith. You can't say, Melissa said this, Melissa said this. I don't care what Melissa said. What does the Bible say? See, the reason you can never get me to compromise on my faith is because I know what God says. You can't get me to compromise because I believe what he said. And I know the spirit of the Torah where he has spoken to me certain parts, what the spirit rather than just the letter means, and he's taken us to that deep heart issue. And he's shown me what it means. I don't want you vain in this way. Or I don't want you doing this to push my hand away from afflicting you or teaching you. See, you can't get me to compromise I don't change. You guys have been with me for 3 years. I haven't changed my mind, right? As soon as I'm committed to God, if I'm wrong, I'll always change. So that's not it. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying when he tells me his truth, I'm latched on like a sucker fish and I ain't letting go because I believe him. I believe that even if he lets me die, it was his will. I believe that he allows affliction in my life to create me in the image of him. He puts those afflictions in my life to purify me. I believe that he said not to break his Sabbath. I believe what he said, that also the spirit of the Torah shows us that it was okay for David to eat the showbread. See, I don't live by the letter of the law. I believe that if I was in a snowstorm, it's not a problem for me to put on a man's coat. I'm not cross-dressing. I believe that if my neighbor fell down in a well on Sabbath, I'm headed over there. Believe me, we've had to deliver some animals and take care of animals on a Sabbath. God didn't want me to let them die for a legalistic checklist thing. So see, my faith has been developed over 24 and a half years. I mean, granted, I had faith before that. I'm talking about my Torah obedient faith walk. You need to firm up your faith, not based on just the letter of the law, but what does it mean? Test the things I'm saying against Scripture, push in. And I'm not the one with who you should argue if you disagree. I'm just me, and my faith is me and my God. I'm clinging to him and never letting go what he showed me. But my faith can't get you through the coming trials. Only your faith can. And that's where I push you. These people who try to say I try to control people, I'm a really bad cult leader. First of all, I don't take your money. Second of all, I tell you, please don't listen to me. You're not following me. If you want to go, there's the door and I open it for you. Cult leaders try to keep people there. I'm like, I don't know. I think that Satan just enters them and they pervert words because I've never said to follow me. I said, like, I'd listen because I see that what happens when people don't. Like, I'm speaking the word of God. I firmly believe that, or I wouldn't be here. I believe what he told me. I believe what he called me to do. I'm committed to him, and my faith pushes me to obey him. So I have this knowing that if you have the Holy Spirit, you're going to hear the same truth. But you're not following me. I'm on a path for my salvation to the Creator, and I want to help you get there too. I Y'all know that people on the internet sensationalize my life, and now I found out I make 3 figures, I guess. 6 figures, I guess, to get the verified thing. No, honey, somebody was trying to break into my account because once you get so many followers, hackers attack it. So then I had to pay $50 a month now. I have to pay out of my pocket $50 a month to protect my account because it's to that level. I don't make 6 figures. It's like that I have to do that to protect the account. And so one of you even had a dream. Jackie had a dream. Jackie Wright had a dream. I had to verify my account, and the Lord had already been telling me, you better verify it. And sure enough, there was 30 minutes where somebody got my account, hacked it. Boom! I quickly changed everything. I verified it right after that because it protects it. It gives me extra level protection. That's all it does, sweetheart. Doesn't mean I had to make 6 figures. And like somebody said that I'm really close friends with the Antichrist, and I'm in the CIA. I didn't know I had that exciting life. No, I'm really nothing. I'm just a little old farm girl from Montana, turned Wyomingite, who loves Yah, who he said, get out there, little Amos. Get out there and tell him what to do. I did not say anus. I said Amos. I thought some of you might have heard that wrong because I know. Like, I might fit the other characteristic too, but I'm not that one tonight. So get over there, little Amos, and get over there and speak. And that's all I'm doing. And he's like, I'm just over here a shepherd trying to mind my own business. And God tells me to come over here to you nutball heads. You're going to fight with me anyway. Right? That's all I am. You're not following me. I saw Nicholas took my phrase today. He did that thing because I am. I'm a guide on the side and the sage on the stage. I have taught that. I have said that since 2000 when I was a college professor. I guess at 90, when did I start being a college professor? 99, 98, 99. I'm a guide on the side, not a sage on the stage. You're not following me. I'm simply a mama who's been in it longer, trying to help you get to the end. Okay. So we're gonna go to the lion's den. Okay. And verse 23. Now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he believed on his Elohim. Verse 24. And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel. And they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives, and the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den. I really believe that's a sign to you for your false accusers. You do good. Daniel didn't curse them. He just kept praying to his Elohim, kept his mind on his life. Who cares what they're doing? And then God will judge your accusers. I know God judges our accusers. I've seen people have, he takes care of them. I don't need to curse them. I can just pray for a blessing for them. Then the king Darius wrote to all the peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God and steadfast forever. His kingdom is the one which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall endure to the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. Who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. And then I've been praying for 24 years for Cyrus to arise, and now we have Cyrus on one side of a coin. The same Cyrus who's putting together a peace, a coalition of peace, the Board of Peace, with 10 primary members, so 8 executive heads, 2 also added to that are making the 10, and then they have other little peripheral members. So tomorrow we'll continue on. We are going to be persecuted for our faith. I want some of you to practice. I'm begging you, as your little mama, please practice having joy. Don't be negative tomorrow. So bad things start happening, you just praise the Father. You just praise, you say, Father, I trust you. And I want you to practice finding the peace that passes understanding in the midst of your affliction now. Like, so what if things are bad? You're going to have to say, well, I trust you, Father, because trust brings peace. Trust and surrender brings joy and shalom. You don't have to have, if you need to have good things happen for you to have peace, then you just don't know Yeshua yet. You are in control of your emotions. You are in control of, so people can afflict you, people can persecute you, people can do bad things to you, but they can't take your peace. You let them have it. You have to keep your attitude strong and humble and pure and joyful. You cannot get riled. Practice, 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 practice our spiritual muscles, okay? Okay, I'm going to, well, I hit that wrong button every time, don't I? So I'm going to stop the recording. Now I'm going to keep the recording in case there's some, there we go. Any questions? Okay, somebody said a fun fact about lions. There are actually 2 types, Asian. Yes, Shawnee, that's actually true. And so I know, guys, if you missed the first part of this, I'll put it on, I'll try to put it on YouTube. Oh, probably not tomorrow, so probably Friday, but it'll be on Facebook replaying tomorrow because I have 2 meetings tomorrow. And yeah, it's, these first 6 chapters were good and very much a picture of what's coming towards these end days. But the last 6 chapters are very much what's, I think, I think we're watching it just play out. Okay, go ahead, Savannah, hun.
Hey, oh sorry. What is the difference? What's the spirit of the law versus like the letter of the law?
So what Jews and Judaism like to do, and what many people like to do, they make a checklist of every law. And they say, well, I only walked, I didn't, let me think of something very PG right now. I didn't eat pork today, so I'm okay with God. But the spirit of the law is like, yeah, but did you ingest spiritual pork? Did you watch yucky stuff on TV, and did your spirit ingest yucky, unclean messages that clogged your spiritual arteries so that the spirit doesn't flow through you? Yeshua says, if you have relations, if you're married and you cheat on your wife, okay, well, that's adultery, but he says it goes deeper than that. Like if you look at another, if you have impure thoughts towards your spouse, that's also cheating.
Yeah.
He says, yes, murder is wrong, but also to the spirit of the Torah, like, well, isn't it murder when you slander, when you defame, when you're mean, unforgiving? That's murder. And so then I take it to like, we know we're not to worship ourselves, but to worship God. So then I take that to where, we know that Paul understood also about modesty. Modesty does not mean I have to wear a dress. Modesty means my jeans better not be tight fitting, my clothes better not be immodest. And so this whole sexual immorality thing goes about my dress, my hair, am I fake, am I vain, or am I trying to just draw attention to me, or am I trying to turn eyes to him, right? So am I the idol, or do I make him the God that all eyes go to? Um, and so, making idols of anything in my life, is my comfort coming from cigarettes, marijuana, a drug? Is that my idol? Or is my source of all hope and shalom from Yah? Those are the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. Judaism was extremely wicked because they didn't want to have the relationship with God. So they made over 2,000 extra rules to define all the little nuances of the Torah. So not living by the spirit of the law, like we're in the moment, if we said something negative about a brother, we'd be like, I don't want to cut him down. Please forgive me, Lord. But they would say, well, what does it mean to break the Sabbath? How far should we detail that they can walk without breaking it? So then they said, well, a quarter mile. They can walk a quarter mile, and anything more, they're breaking the Torah. Well, that's retarded because that was their own man-made extra checklist. They see it was them pushing the fence out to define parameters so they no longer had to walk in relationship with the creator, because when you have to live by the spirit of the law, you have to every moment be in relationship with him to find out what his heart is and what he wants in the moment. How do I please you now, Father? Checklists let you not think about it. They let you have religion, you check out. You went to Sunday church, you vomited Saturday night, went to Sunday church, put your money in the tithe, good, you're good to go. No problem. Out drunk as a skunk Saturday night. You're fine, right? That's the checklist of religion. Judaism is the same. Well, I didn't walk more than a quarter mile today, and if I need to walk more than a quarter mile, I'm going to put a string around the town, which they actually do, and I'm just going to move it over a little bit. And that way I didn't go outside the boundaries of my town. So retarded. And so that's what the danger of religion is. They think, well, I'm good with God because I got circumcised. Paul's like, but your heart's uncircumcised. See, Ezekiel says, God himself says, anybody uncircumcised in flesh, so that little private part down there, or heart doesn't get to come into the temple of God, into his presence. So is it both that matter to God? Yeah, you better do the letter of the law, but you better take it to the spirit of it. So it's good that you didn't murder, but you also better not hate or hold unforgiveness in your heart. It's good you didn't have relations with another person when you're married, but you also better not be lusting. You know what I'm saying? You guys see how that spirit of the law has to be walked out. Okay. Good question. That is a good question. I think that's a good one.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Micah. And you don't even have to. Yep, now you can unmute yourselves.
Hi. This is a tough book. This is so good, but then so tough because it's this constant message of being a witness, like no greater love than this, than a man lays down his life for his friend. And it's like you keep telling us, like, Jesus, he's making you more like him. And it's like you gotta show proof, show your work. What's your work? And seeing how, and I'm all the way in chapter 1, verse 19, the king interviewed them, and among all of them, no one was found equal to Daniel means God is my judge. No one was found equal to God as judge. No one was found equal to Mishael, who is like God. No one was found equal to Azariah. No one was found equal to the Lord has helped. I mean, we read this 2 weeks ago, he told us to read Daniel. We've been putting it off, and we appreciate you going through this because I'm supposed to go over this with someone on Friday, and I've been
Oh, good.
and it's so weighty. it's so weighty because witness means martyr.
Hmm.
Witness
Well,
means,
witness actually is edut. So well, then it can mean that, but it also means to bear the testimony and very character of what you're showing or honoring. So it's the edut, the testimony, the representation of what you're doing. It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it's so multifaceted because the testimony could be against them, the testimony
Hmm.
for you to show. It's so multifaceted, like Yahweh. He's like this prism, this,
Hmm.
and I'm, man, it's so weighty because you see Daniel being put constantly in line of his faith, and
Hmm.
every time it was his life. And like that's not really preached as much. Is it
Of course they
literally?
don't. Like churches don't preach the Bible. They take a verse, ask for your money. They might do another half a verse, ask for more money, and then they ask for more money and more money. And then they
Yeah,
sing a song and ask for
yeah,
more money.
and exactly. Money, money. And it's yeah, knowing that none of this matters, but it's later on. And I appreciate you going over this because like it's now.
It is, and that's what you guys have to see. Be watching this peace agreement or this peace council, board of peace that Trump put together. Eyes wide open. Eyes wide open. It
Yeah.
is going to look very normal. There's no alien invasion. It is going to look very normal and thus deceive the elect, if possible. It's
Mhm.
going to look very normal. Satan's not going to show up and say, okay, I'm Satan, I'm the Antichrist. Now, this is what I'm going to do to deceive you. Do you want to take the bait or not? He doesn't like make it obvious.
Mhm.
But you who know scripture will see. Okay?
Yeah. Eyes to see. I think also like when you're bringing up that they don't come at you, it's like with discernment. They're not yelling at the leaders for coming at them. They're holding fast in this peace that transcends all understanding in the weight that even if I don't, like 2 years ago, he kept telling me, even if I don't, what will you do?
Right. And that's the thing, some of you guys where you get mad at God if you're like, well, he didn't heal me. Well, did that give you the right to tell him and push his hand away? Like if dad said no, we don't run to mom. Right? Is that concept. So and that's what I had to come to 20 some years ago, 24 years ago. If Yah says no, when he is completely able, then there's a good reason that he said no, and I have to trust him. Those of you who run to your other vices when he says no, you don't have trust yet for him because you're afraid. Well, what if? Well, what was that? What was supposed to happen? Like the reason he said no was for a reason. Is he trying to build your faith? Is he trying to build repentance? Is he trying to, what is he doing in you? There's a process and there's a purpose for his no. You have to trust him enough that if he says no, you don't go behind the back door to get your way. If you push, you will run into the sword of the angel. If you go by the donkey that's in the road to save you and you keep pushing, he'll eventually give you over and harden your heart. That's the scariest thing I've seen in life. I've seen people wrestle, 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 and they wrestle their way out of the kingdom. However, I've also seen many people wrestle and overcome their own flesh and surrender and submit, and then they get to see the most beautiful blessings.
Amen. I'm really thankful to Yahweh for you and your walk because literally 7 years I was Nebuchadnezzar and I had to count. And I was mooing on all fours. And where I'm only 3 years out of being Nebuchadnezzar, and it doesn't mean that I'm completely out of the stupor. And so I
Right.
thank you for pushing through this. It doesn't immediately go away after you've been Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, no.
No, there's so much you have to fight against of being, stop being mere humans, like Paul says. Be better than that. Because you may not be mooing, but a human isn't up to standard at either.
Right. Exactly. Very, very cool. Well, guys, I love you. And I will see you. Yeah, I better write it on my calendar because it was really put on my heart. Like I was so excited when I see this Board of Peace coming, and I'm like, oh, we are here, we are here, we are here. And I've been waiting. And when I saw the Cyrus coin, I mean, literally, I've been praying for 24 years for Cyrus to arise. That's all Father told me. Pray for Cyrus to arise. Sure, I'll pray for Cyrus to arise. Um, so good. Okay, so I will make an announcement. So will Jeanette. we already know that she was going to put that out there because Jeanette goes live to the world and she tells everybody, doesn't she? She's awesome. The rest of you do too. Some of you really do. Jeanette's just always like that little one. She makes sure it's out there. Cass does too, I think. And some of you, well, awesome. Love you guys. And she's the reason you knew about tonight. We were missing quite a few tonight. Where were they? I guess, Jeanette, I'm going to also give you the spanking stick. You can go after them and say, where were you? I don't know where they were. Oh, well, they're lost. That was a good study. They can watch it later. I'm just totally joking. I don't care who's here or not. I just love you guys. You have a blessed night. We'll see you tomorrow. If you do have questions, you can message me and then make sure you're spending time with the Father, getting in the Word, letting Him speak to you so you know it because you ain't following me, you're following Him. I'm just your little guide on the side. Love you guys. Good night. Laila tov. Laila tov. Good night, beloveds.
Shalom.
Laila tov. Laila tov.
Laila Tov.
Laila tov.
Good night.
Laila Tov.
So,
Shabbat Shalom.
It's not Shabbat yet, but you can say shalom, huh?
Wait, why is the tomorrow's study not on the schedule? Because she just told about
Because we just thought about it tonight.
Oh, okay, I'm paying attention.
That's okay. We're living by the seat of our pants.
I don't have pants on though. Do I don't have shorts.
Love you guys.
Love you
Laila
too,
tov.
Mel.
Good night.